Aidan Burley.
In the short time that I have, I just want to nail a couple of myths that have come up in this debate and give the view from Cannock Chase. And the first myth is that we are giving a tax break to the wealthiest in society. The answer that the Shadow Secretary of State wouldn't give during the debate is that the number of days that the Labour government had a 50p tax rate over a 13-year period was 37. So it's just a sixth-form debating argument, the idea that we are giving a tax cut. They had 13 years to introduce 50p rate, and they introduced it for 37 days. Secondly, let's nail the myth that while many people who are in work do get benefits, there is an evidence of a culture of worklessness, whatever the Joseph Rowntree Foundation says. And if you don't believe me, let me just give me a second. Let me just read the House a summary of an interview on LBC Radio in December, when a man called Paul phoned in to say it wasn't his fault that there were no jobs out there. And he said, "Why would I work for low wages? I can't really understand that. What's the point? I was offered a job 2 weeks ago, but they wanted me there at 8 in the morning. The presenter said, "So why didn't you do that job?" Paul said, "Because it's a ridiculous time." The presenter said, "What time would you finish if you started at 8 a.m? Paul replied, "Well, it finished about 4 p.m, but that time in the morning's too early. Most people start at 9. The presenter, getting angry now, said, "No, most people work all hours. If I was in charge and you turned down a job for the reason I would cut your benefits..."
The point is, it's
genuine. You said you lied if there was no work out there. People out there are struggling to get a job every day, and frankly, you can't be bothered. Paul said, "I would love to have that job, but I'm not willing to start work at 8. I'll only start at 9:30, to which the presenter replied, "I am outraged by what you have just said." So let's not pretend that some people cannot be bothered to work.
In a way, and I'm not sure what the anecdote has just given actually draws to a wider conclusion. Can I say to him, the only worklessness in this chamber today is on the back benches, but there's only been an average of 12 backbench members all afternoon on the Tory benches.
I've been here from the beginning of the debate and waiting patiently to speak, but moving on to my own constituency, the House of Commons Library shows that average wages in Cannock Chase rose by 6% between 2007 and 2012. That same period, benefits went up by 20%. And I say to the House, where is the fairness in benefits going up by 20% when pay has only gone up by 6%? But don't take my word for it. This is what a local police officer emailed me last year when we uprated benefits by 5%. Dear Mr Burley, why has the Conservative government given a recent rise in benefits money to the unemployed when nurses, police officers, fire and rescue workers and other public sector workers have not received a pay rise for over 2 years? It's a very fair question, and I don't know what the answer is. What I do know is that if the rate of inflation is not sufficient to warrant an increase in public sector pay beyond 1% in April this year, then it cannot be so high as to require an increase in benefits beyond this either. This is what another constituent contacted me recently saying, quote, "I have a friend who has a partner. Neither she or he work and have not worked for as long as I can remember. They're both fit and healthy and perfectly able to work, they just don't want to. They openly admit there's no point in finding work as they would not have enough money to live on. She stated to me that in order to get close in wages to what they receive in benefits, they would both have to get a job." This, Mr Deputy Speaker, is the perverse reality of where we are now, that it pays not to work, that people are better off at home on benefits, even though they could work and in many cases want to. Tellingly, the constituent went on to say to me, "Some time ago my friend let it slip that she claimed £500 a week on benefits. I was astounded and furious and pointed out that was twice my wages. I'm aware that many people are unable to work and genuine in need. Surely people on benefits who are more than capable of working should not be living a life of luxury and be financially better off than those who earn a living. There are people playing the system and the genuine hard-working people struggling to have a life." Those are the real words of a real constituent in an area where the average salary is £22,500, and the Labour Party ignore those words at their peril. In conclusion, Mr Speaker, the opposition have argued that this uprating of 1% will impact on working people and not just those on benefits. Well, when the previous government made 90% of workers eligible for welfare recipients, that is inevitable. Unfortunately, the members opposite make the mistake of taking these measures in isolation. And if you take the government's measures as a whole, including tax allowance to any energy tariff changes and cutting petrol duties, low working households will be better off. Mr Deputy Speaker, it is time to end the ridiculous money merry-go-round. Let's take people out of tax and on benefits. Labour used to be the party of the working man. They are now the party of the workless and of the welfare, and I look forward to fighting them on the doorsteps as they take that message to the electorate.
Order. Before I call the next speaker, actually shouting back and forth really doesn't help